Sorry, I'm not going to have a filter this time because I really feel like that was what went wrong. So we'll just leave it at this, and we'll wait until a few of you jump back on. Sorry about that. That was so annoying. My bad. So no filter. You could see my face without anything. In fact, it needs a little help right now. I don't know if any of you moms are out there, but I feel like my skin has changed a little bit since having Geo. Maybe a little bit more dry, more wrinkly. I definitely feel like I have... Oh, yay. All right, here we go. So, hi everyone. I'm gonna just talk a little bit about breastfeeding in public. I know that you guys had some questions about that. So yes, I do it. I think it's important to normalize it. I think, you know, I first and foremost care most about Geo's health and well-being. So to feed him just feels like a natural thing to me, and if I'm out in public, I have to feed him, and that's just what I want to do. So I do breastfeed in public. I just, you know, have my shirt up and it kind of drapes over, and typically no one says anything or acts weird, and that's cool with me. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. Oh, okay. Someone asked, oh my gosh, there's so many good ones. Okay, so let's just go with this one for now. Wait, hold on, I want to answer you. So, okay, as a teen mom, I feel personally looked down on. Do you think it should be something to be shamed? That's a great question. I respect you. I respect all moms. I think it's a very, very overwhelming job, regardless of your age. I mean, I just turned 31, and it sometimes feels just overwhelming. Like I said, it has its own challenges. So I don't think anyone should be shamed for their situation. I just wish you the best of luck, and I'm sending you all the mama strength I can. Yay, we're getting these questions down now. So now I can just go through here and just put them up. Let's see what this one is. My son just turned 3 months. What should I expect in terms of growth spurts and also changes in sleep? Wow, I can't even speak. So 3 months old, I remember that was when we very first transitioned Geo into his room, in his crib. Geo obviously was he was just on the bigger side as a baby, and so we felt that he was ready to be in his crib because his bassinet was like closing in on him, and I didn't feel like he was getting good sleep. So that was a big change for him, and he actually adapted quite well. Granted, we didn't have the best sleeper on our hands up until literally 2 weeks ago, and the last 2 nights he has slept over 12 hours in a row, no wake-ups. So at 3 months, just know that if you're having some wake-ups in the middle of the night and they're adjusting and you may not feel like you're on the right sort of sleep schedule or feeding schedule, it's all normal. I felt the same exact way. I felt like I didn't know really what he needed at times. I remember thinking he wasn't, you know, either hungry or he was hungry. It was just a lot. I just think the growth spurts, they come and they go, and at least for me, I didn't really even know that they were happening. I would just notice that maybe he's a little bit more fussy, and I couldn't tell if he was hungry or tired. I don't know if that even answers your question. Just know that there will be some waves to ride, and all I can say is that at 5, you know, even in 4 months, 4 and 5 months for me have been like game changers. He's been so much more predictable. His sleep patterns have gotten so much better. His eat schedule has been a lot more regular, and I just feel better about everything. I feel like I have so much more confidence in myself now. Yeah. Okay, another question. Let's see what we got. So many Victoria. Like, seriously. Okay. I'm going to try to keep my answers to a little bit shorter period of time so that we can get through more. How different is your life now that you're a mom? It is totally different. It couldn't be more different. I used to, just on a very general, broad scheme, like I used to work out almost every single day. I used to work more, audition more, spend more time just mindlessly being on my phone or, you know, whatever, running errands. And now I feel like my priority is him, and if I have any time outside of that, then I try to manage whatever I can, but I'm not so concerned with anything really for myself as much, which I'm learning to be better about, because now that, like I said, he's a little bit more regular, a little bit more predictable, I'm going to try and go to the gym more. We'll see. At least once or twice a week. And then I'm going to try to focus more on, obviously, my businesses like Kinder Beauty and the investments I'm involved in, like Sugar Taco and Outstanding Foods. So it's a lot different, but it gets easier, and everyone told me it would get easier, and it really has. Let's see what else we've got. A lot of skin questions, which is so funny because I feel like I have had a hard time keeping my skin in check lately. Okay. Here's another question. How does it feel to be a mom, and what was your reaction when you found out you're pregnant? I love you so much. When I found out I was pregnant, it was surreal. I remember I had come home from working out, and I was literally just one day late. And because I kind of knew when we conceived that I was ovulating, I just felt like I was pregnant before I even knew I was pregnant. So I had a test on hand, and I took it, and I don't know if you guys saw the video on YouTube, but I didn't see the double lines because it took a while to come through. And of course, I didn't read the directions. I didn't know it took a few minutes, so I just thought, oh my gosh, I'm wrong. And then I went back to look at it, and then I saw the other line coming through, and I just remember thinking, holy moly. And the best part is that it was all like positive. It was a positive reaction for me. I was so excited. And so I feel really lucky that I was in a position that I was like ready and kind of like knew it was going to happen, or hoped that it was going to happen. And it was, I don't know, I just feel really lucky because it also feels like it was forever ago. That was just over a year ago, and it feels like my life is like in a totally different place. So anyways, that's how I felt. Let's see what else we got. This is a good question. How has becoming a mom changed your relationship with your own mom? So, full disclosure, I think it's pretty normal, but, having a relationship with your parents isn't always sunshine and rainbows. And my mom and I, it's just unique. Like, I don't know how else to say it. I feel like having Gio's actually brought us closer together, ironically. I didn't see that coming, but like I said, becoming a mom has given me more perspective, and I just feel like I respect moms of all walks of life, including my own, because even though I'll just say it, I may have judged the way that she parented and thought that I could do better, and that I was I felt like I was her parent growing up. I look at her now and I'm like, you raised two human beings that are in the world right now, so you win. You did it, and I respect that. And so it has changed the way I am with my mom. I used to be really short. I don't know. I'm just working on it. And so being a mom helped me understand that it's definitely not the easiest job in the world, and that people sacrifice a lot for their children, and I'm grateful for her doing that. That's a good question. Let's see what else we got. I like this little question thing. Hold on. Let's see. Someone wants me to sing Chicago again. You can hear me sing a bit of it every time you listen to our podcast. If you guys don't follow our account, it's Adulting Like AMF, and we just hit 10,000 followers. So cool. Here's one. Is pregnancy difficult to deal with? I think it depends on your circumstance, and it depends on your lifestyle, and it depends on a ton of things. For me, it wasn't that difficult to deal with. I think there were definitely moments where I was like, okay, I feel more tired than usual, or I had a lot of food aversions in the first trimester, which meant like I didn't want the same foods that I was used to eating. Anything that was like super flavorful sounded kind of gross. So that was weird. But outside of like the little things that just come and they go, generally I think pregnancy is quite natural, and your body and our bodies are really designed to do that. So I felt empowered. I felt, more than anything, I felt so damn empowered to be pregnant. I felt like, okay, so I have X amount of months left, or 9 months total, to not only like nurture this baby the best that I can, take the best care of myself. I had to tick so many boxes for work and things that I knew that I needed to just get in order before I became a mom, and didn't have that kind of time, which I'm really glad I did. And then also, like, health was a huge priority of mine, so I'm sure you guys saw I worked out almost every day, and that all helped. I think it all helped. And also, I just think, yeah, I think it's different for everyone. Everyone's bodies react differently to pregnancy. And at the end of the day, no matter what you're feeling, just know that it flies by. And one day you're not pregnant, and you may or may not miss it. And there are many days where I'm like, oh my gosh, that was the most magical time. Like, I can't go back. I mean, I guess you could get pregnant again, but I can't go back to the very first time that I was pregnant, where everything was new and everything felt so real. So that's how I feel about it. Let's see, more questions. Oh my gosh, so many good ones. Everyone has something to say about Victorious. Okay, so what is it like to give birth? Giving birth is an experience that I think is different for everyone, and it's really hard to explain, because if I were to think back to giving birth, which was only 5 months ago, it's kind of hard to fully remember exactly how it felt. I can remember like the stages and how it all went and played out, but it feels like it just flew by. It felt like it was just a little blip in my mind. You know, I had an emergency C-section, so I do remember the whole experience, thank goodness, because, you know, I wasn't super drugged up. But also afterwards, you remember the experience because it takes a minute to heal, and the pain is quite intense for a little while. But ultimately, I think if anyone out there is scared of birth, you shouldn't be. It's natural, it's normal, it happens all the time, and it's, no matter how maybe difficult or how scary it may be, it is ultimately the most beautiful, crazy, mind-blowing experience I think most women go through. And so just own the moment, because again, it's one of those things that comes and it goes. Okay, let's see what else. Do you want more children? If so, when? I actually think I do want more children. I think I mentioned this in a couple different lives or maybe on the podcast, but I was someone who wanted a lot of kids for a long time. I wanted like 6 kids because I just love children. Then we had Gio, and not gonna lie, like the first at least month, maybe 2 months, I was overwhelmed. I didn't feel equipped. I felt like I was second guessing myself. I was constantly looking for tips and pointers and support. And now I'm in a different place. I really feel confident. I feel like I'm able to handle so much more and make better decisions. And anyways, I just think that at this point, Andrew and I are a lot more open to the idea of more kids. I just don't know if and when. Okay, let's see what else we got, guys. Oh my goodness. What mascara am I wearing? I'm wearing Inika. Inika. So check them out because they're all vegan and cruelty-free and super clean, and they're in our kind of beauty boxes often. We work with Inika all the time because we love their products. So the question is, was giving birth harder than you thought for you? Well, being that it was different than I thought, and I thought I was going to have a natural birth in a bathtub, and it was going to be like candlelit and spa music and all the things. Yeah, it was a little harder than I thought, but okay. So while I was laboring, even though it hurt, it really did hurt. I don't even know how to explain what contractions feel like, but it's like a wave of just, you could feel the wave basically ticking to the point of like, oh my God, I don't know if I can take this anymore. And then as soon as it literally peaks and you're like, holy moly, this is the most pain I've ever felt in my life, it just drops off. And then it like almost prepares you to like take a breath, calm your nerves, sort of, and then you just have to brace yourself because you know that it's coming back. So labor is sort of a mental experience, but I will say, and I'm not someone who meditates or does all those things, I felt like I was in a meditative state. If I could go back to those videos, which I think I have, I was literally humming through the whole experience, like loud. I was like crazy. It was just a natural, I'm not that person. I'm not the person who like breathes loudly in yoga. I'm not that person. But while I was in labor, it was like the only thing that helped me cope. And I really, really, really wanted to have a natural birth without any epidural or any drugs or anything. So I really wanted to work through it on my own. And so I think that was what helped me get through it all. But I think the pain of contractions was so different than I imagined. So yeah, I don't think you could ever really know what you're in for unless, of course, you've given birth before and it's your second or third time and you're like, okay, I can kind of recall what that feels like. Ultimately, it's temporary. So I don't mean to scare anyone because it's like a rite of passage, and I think it's so beautiful, even though it's a little intense. Let's see what else we got. How does it feel how does it make you feel watching your child grow up? It's an emotional roller coaster. I really love all the different stages that I've felt with Gio so far, but I would be lying if I said it doesn't not bum me out, but it makes me feel a little sad to see him become this little man and giggle, and he's so alert and aware of things. And you know, you go from having a baby straight out of the gate to like basically doing nothing but sleeping, maybe crying, and that's about it. They could barely like move. It's so different. And now at 5 months, he's like rolling and he's trying to like pull himself to stuff, and he like really loves certain toys, which I think is so cool. Like he's drawn to certain things. He knows my face and Daddy's face, Andrew's face, like it makes him happy, and then he knows a stranger's face and he acts a little different. So it's like so many different characteristics happen so quickly, and I don't think I was like fully prepared for how quickly they change. And so now I almost miss, not that I miss the other stages, but it's weird to think that you'll never get them back. And that's the part that can be a little funny. It's like every day he's getting bigger and he'll never be small. It's crazy. Does anyone have any questions about like postpartum stuff, like breastfeeding and that sort of thing? Because for me, at least, that was what I thought would come most natural and was probably one of the more challenging pieces of the first like month or two. So anyways, I was going to just search through these and see if I see anything. Oh goodness, these are good questions. Best thing about being a mother, just for me, it gave me like a strength to stand up for him and myself a lot more. I think prior to being even pregnant. So being pregnant, I think, is when I really stood in my ground and I thought, okay, I'm holding a baby. If there's something that I don't like, or if this isn't for me, I don't feel pressured to just be a people pleaser anymore. I felt a lot stronger being pregnant and now being a mom. I have no problem, I think, standing up for myself and just being more communicative. So that's something that I'm really grateful for. Because I think prior to that, I was a little bit more of a people pleaser. Oh, we have a visitor.
Hey, still alive, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to come say hi? Do you have any does anyone have any questions for Andrew?
I'm just doing a quick pop-in.
A quick pop-in. What? That's it?
That's it.
Why? No, someone might have a question for you.
I got a baby to watch.
Okay. So someone said, I'm going to answer this one. Okay. So someone said, I have a month left of probably pregnancy, and she's asking about tips for breastfeeding. So, okay, wait, these are so good. People are asking if I pumped to the night. Okay. So let me just get my head wrapped around this. You have a month left. Breastfeeding, let me first say it might be the hardest thing that you figure out, but it's the most beautiful thing that you figure out. And I almost wish that more people told me how hard it was, and that's why I'm saying it to you. It could be a breeze, so if it isn't difficult, like, own it and enjoy it. But for me, it was difficult because I got my milk pretty soon. I had colostrum in the hospital, so he nursed every second I didn't sleep at all, pretty much, in the hospital, which was fine because I think I was working on adrenaline, and frankly, you're in so much pain, it's almost difficult to sleep, or at least for me, because I had a C-section. So colostrum happened in the hospital. He really latched so well. I got so lucky, but there were things that I wanted to know. So here's a few tips offhand. Latching is so important. So when you're feeding, and I'm going to do a little TMI, here we go, pushing this down so you can see, you want to make sure that your baby, it kind of, like your nipple kind of points to his nose, and then you drag it into his mouth, and that kind of, I think what that does, and listen, I didn't go to a lactation consultant, so I'm not an expert, but I'm just speaking from personal experience that this actually really, really worked for me, and I think it'll work for you as well. I think it just helps the nipple lay better in their mouth, so that way they can like get their tongue underneath it and then suck. I don't know if that makes sense, but make sure that you get a really, really solid latch, because a solid latch is going to help you tremendously with no clogs, no infections. You want to make sure that they're, obviously getting enough. And in the beginning, as a mom, all I cared about was nursing this baby and giving him as much nutrients as I possibly could. So I was actually probably, crazy diligent. I remember the nurses saying to me, every time we come in the room, you're feeding him. I don't know what that was. It was instinctual. If I could go back, I'd probably do it the same way. Like, it just felt right to feed him as much as I possibly could. Now, in the beginning, I fed him almost every hour, and I think you can be a little better about spacing them out. I think babies could probably wait an hour and a half, 2 hours, but again, if your baby is crying and it feels like better for you to nurse that baby, just go for it. A couple tips to remember in the shower: take really, really warm showers. Lay upside down or stand upside down and let everything drain to your boobs, and then you could like flick your nipples a little bit, and that'll help get a lot of that milk out of like the tip of your nipple or something. There's a bunch of different really healthy ways to manage your boobies while you're breastfeeding in the beginning, because there's so many changes going on, and you're going to get such an imbalance of milk coming and going and coming and going until it regulates itself for your baby. Now, if I'm being 100 with you guys, it probably took me 2 solid months of a little bit of trial and error before I became what now feels like no big deal. Like, no big deal. It's amazing. I never have to worry about a bottle. I don't pump really ever unless I'm gone more than maybe 2-3 hours, and I know that I'm actually missing one of his feeds. If I am missing one of Gio's feeds during the day for any reason, I will pump that feed so that way my body stays regular with his feeds. So in the beginning, you want to bank a little bit of milk. You want to have some milk stored up for whatever reason. I mean, honestly, you can use it for rashes. You could use it for their baths, for their skin. It's just a good idea to schedule in a pump session. So what you can do is, if you're feeding your baby every maybe 1, 2, 3 hours, find a time, probably after a feed. If you wait like 30 or 40 or an hour, maybe an hour after a feed, to do a pump, and just bank a little bit of milk. I know this is so much information. There's obviously a lot more of it online. I think the only thing that I can say, just to sort of wrap that conversation up, is just be patient with yourself, because you have so many hormones going through you, and we all stress out about wanting to feed our baby and take care of our baby and make sure they're getting enough. Just know that your body is magic, man. I'm not even kidding. It will figure it out. It really will. I did not think that I was ever going to figure it out. I was so sort of bummed out that it was so difficult, and that I would get infections, and that I felt like I had clogs and things were happening and it was hurting and it was so painful. My nipples were so sensitive. And then one day, I swear, he can like hang from the rafters for my nipples. It's not even a joke, and I know that's TMI, but it's like, I'm good now. You can eat. I'm good. I don't feel any pain. So now let's cut to sleeping through the night. Gio does sleep through the night, so that means he eats at 6:30 at night in the evening, and then doesn't eat again until like 7, sometimes 7:30 in the morning. So I was terrified of what that meant for me in terms of breastfeeding. I was really nervous that my supply would go down not nursing through the night, and I did not want to wake up to pump because I really wanted to get sleep. I haven't had like a full night's sleep in 4+ months. So as soon as he started sleeping through the night, I started to then wean my body off of him. I started with a dream feed where I would go into his room while he was still completely asleep at about 10 p.m. or sometimes 11 p.m. and I would nurse him to sort of alleviate myself, and then I would go to bed and I would wake up completely engorged. So for the first week of him sleeping through the night, maybe a little less than a week, I would pump a little bit before I fed him or simultaneously while I was feeding him, like one side, because there's a couple things. I was really engorged, and I know he doesn't need that much milk, and in fact, if he had that much milk, it would give him a stomach ache, and it would probably make his poop green, and he wouldn't feel as good. So I would pump a little bit. And then I noticed my body, I would still wake up completely engorged. In fact, today I woke up completely engorged, but now he actually is totally fine, and he can empty both boobs, and even though it seems like a totally too much amount of milk, he seems totally fine, no tummy aches, and I think because he hasn't ate for 12+ hours that it's fine, and then my body regulated itself. So now I can literally feed him at 6:30 p.m. and not feed him until like 7:30 a.m. and I'm not getting like massive clogs. It's just engorged enough to the point where once he eats, I feel fine. Gosh, I could go on and on about this stuff, but I'm going to answer a couple other questions because I'm sure people are like, Kay, I don't have a kid. Why are you talking about boobs for so long? What did I just click on? Who chose the name of the baby, only you or you and your boyfriend? Okay, so we both chose the name of the baby, in fact, which is really cool. Andrew's grandpa's name is Garnet, but he goes by G, just straight up G, G-E-E. And then my brother's middle name is Giovanni, and I've always loved that name. And these are both two important guys in our life, so we decided to go with Gio, which is like a short version of Giovanni, and then also we call him G just naturally because it's easy. And so we feel like we've got a little bit of his grandpa in him as well. So that's where the name came from, and we both really loved it. So yeah, let's see what else we've got. What's on your bracelet? Okay, so it's a My Intent bracelet. They're on Instagram, and it says love. And I actually have the whole kit, so we've made these bracelets a lot before. Andrew wears one too. In fact, I don't even know what his says. I'll have to find out. But it's just a good intention to have around you. And for me, this was a time in my life where a lot of changes were happening, I think, around me, and then also in our relationship. So I wanted to just be reminded to be loved and love more. And now it's just part of my everyday. Let's see. Someone asked, what age should you start putting your baby in a crib? I think if you were to look online, the recommended age by like the pediatrics, whatever it is, academy, I don't know, don't quote me, but the recommended age is like 6 months, I think. So we did start earlier, but our bedrooms are literally, we share a wall, and his door is probably just a few steps from our bed. So I felt comfortable with it. Granted, we also have a Miku camera which measures their RPM or their sleep reps, and then also we have another camera that has a different angle where we have the monitor by our bed. So I just felt comfortable knowing that not only could I see him, I could see that he was breathing, and then also I'm just a few steps away. So it's different for everyone, and I felt good about it. And I think the way that I did it, the way that I transitioned him was about 2 or 3 weeks before he started sleeping in there at night, I started him taking naps in there. So for a long time, I didn't have him take naps in his crib. I would have him take naps in his bassinet. So then I started that was how I transitioned him, just put him in there for naps, and then eventually he got comfortable with the room, and then I thought, okay, let's do it tonight. And I'm not kidding you guys, we barely slept that night, not only because he was up, but also because we were just so nervous that he wasn't like 1 foot away from us. So I think it's natural to be hesitant, but you just have to trust your instincts. If you think it's too early, then just wait. Let's see what this says. How has your relationship changed, or how has your relationship with Andrew changed, both good and bad, since having a baby? Our relationship wow, it's a totally different relationship. Like, I mean, we've been together almost 9 years, and I will tell you right now that going through a birthing situation with your partner is something that bonds you. I want to say for life, but I'm always hesitant to use that term. But I do feel like it bonded us for life in a weird way. You know, he was standing right by my head while I was getting cut open. You know, they pulled Gio out. He was the first to see him. He was just all tears, and he's not one to like cry very easily. So it was just a moment that was so special. And from that point on, we were just like partners like you've never even seen. And you know, obviously we've worked a lot on ourselves, and we've gotten this far for a reason. So, you know, I think that we had a really good foundation. We still have stuff we need to work on, but it's made things that we go through a little less, it sounds bad to say a little less important, because Gio is just always top of mind for us. We're always like, are we taking care of him? Are we doing the best for him? And then also now, anything that we struggle with in our relationship, we care a little bit more about for him, not just for us. Like, we care because we want to be a good example of two parents in love, and that's really important to us because, you know, it's not often these days, I feel like, that you see relationships last and ones that you aspire to have, you know? I mean, even the relationships in my life, the majority of them, I wonder, you know, I hate to say this, but it's like some of them aren't exactly what I want to have. Like, I know it sounds a little bit of a fairy tale or whatever, but I want something really, really, really special, really unique. And so I'm willing to work on it, and so is he, and we want that for him because we want Gio to have parents that love each other and show love in front of him. It's one of the things I don't think I grew up seeing, and it has an effect on you, so I want him to just see what love looks like. So we're in a good place, to answer your question. Let's see, a couple more questions, and then I'm actually going to see if I could hit the gym, because Andrew told me Sundays and Wednesdays are his off days from working out, and so he was like, if you want me to watch him, you know, most of the time, Sundays and Wednesdays, go for it. I could pop in to breastfeed and be out. Someone asked me, how long have you been breastfeeding for? His whole life so far. And if anyone's curious about how long I plan to go, it's as long as I hopefully can, within obviously reason. I know he's going to have food in his life, primarily taking up most of his feeds. So at that point, you know, breastfeeding probably just becomes like a comfort thing and not so much for nutrition. But I do want to go as long as I can, and if I had to put a number on that, I want to say at minimum a year, and then at maximum 2, maybe? I don't know, maybe longer. I have no idea how I will feel, so I'm just sort of trusting myself. And let's see, any more questions? Oh my gosh, so many. Do you miss being Trina? Is Victoria's coming back? Gosh, let's see. Someone asked if there were any problems during my birth, and yeah, I guess so. I mean, looking back, I'm perfectly happy with, you know, the majority of my birth experience, but if you want to learn more, I do have a video up on my YouTube. And, okay, one last question, you guys, one last question. What are we going to talk about? Alright, I mean, I could just do a general one. Okay, here's one. How are your morning routines? So, I wake up, and I'm usually about the same time as Gio. So Gio wakes up around 7. I get up just about that same time. Andrew will typically go into the room and pick him up and change him out of his diaper, his nighttime diaper. We're not changing him throughout the night because he's sleeping throughout the night, and so usually in the morning he has a pretty full diaper, and so he changes him, and then he brings him to me in bed, and I feed him, and I feed him for probably about 20, 30 minutes, and then we play for a little bit in the bed, which like means tummy time or just like chatting with him. And he's so chatty in the morning. All he wants to do is talk. So that happens, and then we wake up from bed and we go into the living room and we go watch Daddy make coffees for us, and then we let him play in the living room for a little while. We might go outside and get some fresh air, and it's just a lot of like stations. I always talk about our house in stations. It's like, oh, he likes playing on the couch for this amount of time, and then the bed for this amount of time, and then tummy time on the ground for this amount of time, and then we sort of just like rotate until it's time for his nap. So once he takes a nap, that's sort of when I have my free time to get myself ready, get myself dressed, look at my calendar, maybe post, take care of kind of beauty stuff, look at emails, do all those things, podcast. We definitely podcast usually during his first nap. And then the day is all just sort of up in the air. Sometimes I have music class with him. Sometimes I have Mommy and Me, like I have Mommy and Me today. I'm actually going to start doing a Mommy and Me park day with my girlfriends in our group. And then by that point, it's like dinner time, bedtime, bath time, the whole thing. So days just go by so differently when you have a kid because you have so many things sort of reminding you to stay on track. And usually those are naps. And right now we're at 3 to 4 naps a day. So sometimes 5 if I take him for a walk because he loves sleeping in his stroller. So it's just crazy. It's a totally different world, you guys. If you would have talked to me 6 months ago, even when I was like 8-9 months pregnant, I was all over the place. You couldn't get me to chill. And now it's just like so different, but in the best way. I can finally say in the best way. I think in the first month or two, I was hesitant to really fall into this new life and realize that it was just going to be so much slower. And now I'm like, this is amazing. Like, there's no place I'd rather be. There's no one I'd rather be with other than my little tribe, because we're just a tribe of 3 and we're building a community. And if anyone listens to our adulting podcast, you know what that's from. Okay, guys, I am going to sign off. It's almost 11. I'm going to try to get to the gym by 11:30, and I have some Kind of Beauty stuff to take care of. If you guys do not follow us on kindofbeauty.com or at Kind of Beauty Box on Instagram, yeah, it's a good time to subscribe. We have something really special launching tomorrow. I didn't say it. Bye.